Welcome back, everybody, to the Card Chatter with Refractor Jones and Bobbles and Ball Cards. We hope you've had a wonderful weekend. This will be episode number 25. It's awesome to see. We've discussed this. It's kind of crazy. I'm hoping folks enjoy the 3 episodes a week. We kind of put a lot on ourselves. But this shows we were new to podcasting, and I was like, yeah, well, we want to keep a consistent thing going, but we've been able to do it, so I'm pretty proud of us. But we might have put a lot of pressure on ourselves keeping the three a week, but it's been awesome. Um, Hope you guys have had a wonderful weekend. As always, we like to start the episode giving a shout out to Mason and Mason's mission. I will, as always, pop the QR code up. If you are able to help contribute to the cause, if you don't know what Mason's mission is, it is Mason trying to give back to raise money to help other youth who may be suffering from pediatric cancer and their families and help them out with some of the struggles involved with all of that. He knows what it's like to be a child and battling that battle or fighting that good fight, and he just wants to try to help other folks out. So if you're not able to financially donate, we understand. If you could hit the subscribe button as a thank you and appreciation, we will donate on your behalf. So, Refractor, how has your weekend been, sir?
I'm great, man. I'm great. I don't think the Dolphins are though.
Yeah, honestly, I think I didn't keep up with their game today. I did get a message saying that I guess the third stringer got popped out and they didn't have any more quarterbacks. But I guess they actually,
Mhm.
I mean, they gave, I have the scores up here. We'll get into it. I think they actually did pretty, I mean, the score wise, they did okay. Um,
But they
my
lost,
team,
right?
yeah, they lost, but they
Okay,
played
fine.
Minnesota. Minnesota's having a pretty good year. Um, I can tell you, I mean, you shouldn't be too down on the Dolphins. You guys at
No,
least have
I'm,
injuries. You guys at least
yeah,
have
no,
injuries.
I'm
My
not, I'm
team
not
is a
down on them.
58-minute squad. We lost again. Again. We were up, and the worst part is I said it in chat. I said, I know it's still 10 minutes to go, but we have a 10-point lead, and both sides of the ball have looked good today. And then I did dot, 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 dot so far. Because I just knew, like, I could not say it without, oh, we got this one in the back. Because it's too much. Interesting statistic. We spoke on the 14 seconds being behind after week 4, and they were 2-2, had only been trailing in a game for 14 total seconds. New statistic, new record to be broken. They are the 39th team in NFL history to have held a double-digit lead through the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. So every week this year, the Ravens have had a double-digit lead, and they are only the 39th team in NFL history to do so. However, out of those 39 teams, they're the only team to not have a winning record.
Oh boy.
So we are breaking records, baby. That's all I got to say about that.
Well,
But
I guess I don't feel so bad about my prediction of 8-8 coming soon enough for my guys.
yeah, I mean, we're 3-3 now, and yeah, today was another 58-minute success story, and we lost to the Giants. I mean, come on. But let's run down a little bit of scores for the folks. So let me bring it up here. All right. All right. So starting us off, Atlanta with an interesting victory. They won 28-14 over San Francisco. That was very weird. Then we go into the New England game. New England they're 3-3 now. They played Cleveland, and Bailey Zappi, however you pronounce the man's name, Let's
Soccer
throw
player.
some respect on it, though. He had 309 yards, 2 touchdowns today. They won 38-15.
Nice. Soccer
So,
player comes through.
yeah, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson had 76 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground. Yeah, they put a beat down on Cleveland. Let's go over to this one. This one I cannot understand. So Green Bay, another 3-3 squad. They played the Zach Wilson quarterbacked Jets. The Jets that are 4-2. The Zach Wilson squad that had only 110 yards passing and no touchdowns. The Jets beat the Packers 27-10 in Green Bay.
All right. So how many turnovers? Because there had to be turnovers there for that to happen.
Rodgers only fumbled one. Well, he had 2 fumbles, lost 1.
He didn't throw any
And
picks.
no interceptions.
No.
On stupid ESPN ads. They're biting me again. Yeah, no interceptions,
Wow.
2 fumbles, but only 1 lost. So, Breece Hall had 116 on the ground for a touchdown. Yeah, just a weird game. Weird game.
So their defense was asleep then.
Yeah, something. Again, the running game seems to be an important factor in a lot of these games this year, which, I know there's a lot of emphasis on the quarterback play, but the running game seems to be very important. I forgot the games on Thursdays have been so bad. I forgot to even mention the Thursday game. The Washington Commanders went into Chicago and continued their streak of winning in Chicago. They won 12-7 in a barn burner.
Yeah, great game. Great game.
The Thursday games, I don't know what's up with the NFL, but anyway, I forgot to mention that one. Another game, this was a pretty good game. Jacksonville and the Colts, little divisional matchup here. Jags are now 2-4. Colts are 3-2, 3-2-1. Sorry, throw that 1 on there. Jags actually had this game, and the Colts came back. They won it late in the game. Trevor Lawrence, he went 20 for 22. Very, very good numbers there, except for he only had 165 yards, 1 touchdown. These stupid ads. I hate them. Anyway, Matt Ryan wound up with 389 and 3 touchdowns. But again, the Jaguars had 243 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the ground. So this one, the Colts didn't run as much, and they ended up winning. But still, there's teams here where the running game is obviously important. Minnesota and Miami that you mentioned, that one was 24-16 or 24-16. Vikings are 5-1 now. Dolphins dropped to 3-3. Teddy B played. He was 23-34, 329. He had 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Kirk Cousins, he had 175 and 2 touchdowns. Really, if you looked at the numbers, man, it's hold on. Let me find this here. Game, where's it at? That's not giving me total numbers here. Anyway, if you was to look at the yardage numbers, you would think that Miami would have won this game.
Yeah.
They had over 450 yards compared to looks like around 220 for Minnesota. So I guess the turnovers were a big key. But anyway, moving on. Bengals versus Saints. Bengals came up. Another one snuck in late to win the game. Bengals won 30-26. They go up to 3-3. Saints fall to 2-4. Burrow with 303 touchdowns. Taysom Hill only had 39 yards rushing and 16 yards passing in this game, so he didn't pull the magic this time. Dalton went for 162. Funny, Dalton played his old team, and the Saints actually had the lead in this game too. This was one where the Bengals came back, but Dalton played his old team. He had 162 and a touch. Kamara had 99 yards rushing. Jamar Chase, he had a good game, 132 with 2 touchdowns. About time. He's kind of been quiet this season, so good to see him. Then you have Baltimore again. The best way I can describe that game, Baltimore was winning. They were up 10 with 10 minutes left, wound up losing 24-20. There was a bit of issues. They had a 3-point lead. They were up by 3 with 6 minutes to go, I think. There was a fumbled snap that Lamar went to throw. It got picked off. The Giants took the lead. They had like a minute and a half to try to get down the field and regain the lead. And I believe I'm trying to remember. I think it was another fumble or something. Anyway, it's one of those games I just want to forget. So here's the big one: Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, they improved to 2-4. The
What?
Buccaneers are 3-3. The Steelers beat the Bucs 20-18. Brady had 243 and a touch. Kenny Pickett with 67 yards and a touchdown. Trubisky with 144 and a touchdown. Heard Pickett went out of this game with a concussion, so hopefully he's okay. But a tight game there. Pittsburgh pulls through, wins 2018. You got the Rams over Carolina 24-10. Seattle beats Arizona 19-9. So Geno Smith continues to roll. He had 197. Let's see here. Buffalo picks off Mahomes late in the game to seal the victory 24-20. So that is your rundown so far. You got Dallas and Philly playing tonight, and then you have Denver and the Chargers playing on Monday night. So some close games. Weird season. Obviously, Philadelphia is the only undefeated team, but there's so many games that are like tight or lost at the end. Everything. I guess we got to put it down to at least the NFL is competitive right now. But
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of parity then.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. That's all I'm gonna say. It's weird. Moving over, I want to talk about this real quick and get your opinion. So you're a baseball fan. You've been a longtime fan of the game.
Mhm.
This year with this extended playoffs, you had the wild card being a best of 3, and I'm a little I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think this has anything to do with some of these teams that are moving on? The Phillies moved on. The Padres beat the Dodgers. They're moving on.
Yeah, I was so happy about that.
The Astros, that game went 18 innings yesterday. A 1-0 game over Seattle. 18 innings. Now, I want to say the Astros so far are the only team that are not a wild card team that are advancing. They're also the only 100-win team from the regular season that's moving on and advancing. But I do want to give some credit to Seattle, and another reason why I'm curious about your thoughts on the wild card, because if it wasn't for the 2 Jordan bombs and then that home run in the 18th inning yesterday, that whole series could have went Seattle's way.
Right.
They had to come back in game 2, and Jordan hit the walk-off in game 1, and then yesterday they played 2 games with 1 run. So that whole series could have went Seattle's way.
Yeah, it could have went either way.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. And now you have, Yanks and Cleveland. They're playing tonight. It's 3-1 currently in the bottom of the 4th. Yankees are up, but even that series, I mean, right now Cleveland's a wild card team, battling out and contending very heavily, and could potentially beat the Yankees. So it's interesting to me that all the wild card teams seem to be winning outside of obviously Seattle, who again that could have went Seattle's way. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think the wild card, the momentum thing in baseball is playing a part this year?
Oh well, momentum is definitely a big factor in baseball. It's being in that clubhouse, and knowing how that that competitive nature is between the guys. It's a pretty big deal. You need to be active and you need to be playing. Those days off, even though they're great to have a day's rest, it hurts you. It really does.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how my thought was. I mean, as a pitcher, I think it's okay, but I think your
Yeah,
key cog
yeah,
pieces of the game, your batters, your fielders, and everything else,
mhm,
staying loose, staying with your timing. You can go to a batting cage, but it's not like live ball where you got players in the field that can, snag a ground ball or something and it turns into not being a hit.
right.
Not every ball goes out the park.
Yeah.
So,
You
um,
know, what's interesting is a lot of people don't know that every baseball team is not just one team. It's really two teams. You got your pitchers and you got your fielders.
right.
So they're just on two different schedules, and they tend to hang out together differently, and like I said, the camaraderie and all that, and the everyday activity of doing something every single day. I mean, there's some guys that don't even report until 3:30, 4:30, to even show up to the field if they're not even going to be in the bullpen, or they're not in the pitching rotation. So,
Yeah, and I mean,
otherwise, guys are there by 9 a.m. So
it's just like a closer. Their one job is to come into a tight game, and you can depend on them to close it out.
yeah,
And they don't know if it's going to be 7 games before they get an opportunity.
yeah,
And a coach or a manager might put them in, just to if a game is not a save opportunity, they might put them in just to get them some repetition if it's been a
yeah,
long stretch. But
yeah,
otherwise, they want to save that guy so he's fresh. So
yep,
it's not like a batter coming off the bench, and there's guys that have been great in their careers as pinch hitters and such, and they're
yeah,
always there's batters that it doesn't affect their timing, their rhythm, and everything. They can come in and hit the ball anytime. But then
yeah,
there's other guys. One of my big PC guy, Michael Taylor, he admitted sometimes part of his struggles, especially when he was with the Nationals later on in his career, before he went to Kansas City, was he just didn't have consistent playing time, and so it was
yeah,
hard for him to keep his rhythm, keep his timing in the batter's box. And he
yep,
also admitted that and this I'm sure goes with other players. If you don't have that constant opportunity to be in that batter's box and swing that bat, you're going to try a little bit harder because you don't know like when your next at bat's going to be.
yeah.
So
You're trying, you're
it's
trying
a
to,
game
you're
of
trying to,
mental.
yeah, you're trying to make the most out of every single at bat that you get. Utility guys,
Right.
they starve, man.
Yep. So that's why I was just curious about that. And, this is the first year that we've had this 3-game series for the wild card. And I guess we'll just have to see. It's one example. And maybe teams after this year will look back and say, okay, this happened. Maybe we need to prepare a little bit different. It'll also be interesting if this becomes a trending thing where the wild card teams do teams like, I don't want to say throw games, but do they start trying to play for the wild card spot rather than the, you know,
No,
I mean, it
it,
sounds crazy, but if you
yeah,
find that playing and having that rhythm and staying on top of things and that momentum, if that could be a factor, you never know what a team would do. They might just want the wild card spot. I mean, look at the Dodgers. That's the biggest like surprise to me. Now, granted, the Padres, they got my boy Soto, but at the same time, the Dodgers won more games than they've ever won in the history of their team, and they
I
got
know.
knocked out.
It makes me so happy.
I know it does, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
if you put those two teams on paper and you've seen 100, the Padres were 22 games behind the Dodgers in the regular season.
yeah,
Think about that.
yeah.
22 games. What other sport do you see a team behind in the standings? 22 games advancing. I mean, they normally don't even play.
Well,
Like,
I mean,
think
I
about that's 25% of a basketball season.
yeah, yeah.
Imagine that.
I'm
So,
okay with it. I'm thrilled to death. I can't stand
oh,
the Dodgers.
you know, I love that Juan Soto's there. But then again, I look at the Dodgers and I'm like, well, hell, Trey Turner's there.
Mhm.
I look around the league and all of the ex players that were on the Nationals and where they're at today, and I'm like, oh, that team's going good. He's doing well. But you want to
Yeah.
know something? I don't know if many people realize this. If the Padres keep moving on, and if they wind up making it to the World Series or even winning it, there's a connection on that Padres team to the 2019 Washington Nationals team, specifically Juan Soto, that is absolutely hilarious to me. Two of the players on the Padres that actually have been playing really well throughout the wild card and this NLDS is Trent Grisham and Josh Hader.
Hmm.
And in the 2019 wild card game, the Nationals versus Brewers, the Brewers had the lead late in the game, and Josh Hader came in to close out the game, and he happens to be the pitcher that Juan Soto hit the ball off of to right field. That Trent Grisham was the right fielder who overran the ball and allowed the bases to clear. And now they're
Yeah.
all on the same team
Yeah.
and they're succeeding together. So I was like, that's pretty interesting.
Tell me baseball is in a small game.
Right. Because, yeah, I mean, Grisham was on the Brewers and wound up on the Padres. And then uh, now Hader, I think, got traded there this year. So
Hmm.
that's 3 years later, Hader winds up there, and then Soto obviously winds up there this year. So, yeah, I don't know if many folks realize that, but that whole Nationals World Series run came off the bat of Juan Soto from a pitch of Josh Hader that was hit to Trent Grisham. So, little connection there. But currently, bottom of the fourth, it's one out, man on first. Yanks are still up 3-2, but Cleveland is contending. So we'll have to see how that one goes. But it's definitely been an interesting playoffs. Hockey started back up. I know a lot. I can obviously tell not many people care about hockey, but I actually get very excited for it. I did a video talking about hockey cards, and I had like 40 views. I was laughing because I upload a video on a Friday night or early Saturday morning at 2 a.m. and I wake up, a few hours later on Saturday morning, and that video in the middle of the night had more views than my hockey video, and I'm like, the hell
Whoops.
is going on? So that was funny to me. But anyway, I enjoy hockey, and that's what it's about. So,
Yeah.
but so anything on your mind that you would like to discuss on this beautiful Monday?
I mean, I'll let you open it because I don't want to be a poo-poo guy.
You'll let me open it. Well, you messaged me earlier and asked, and this isn't poo-poo. I want to be clear to all the listeners out there. I'm not trying to poo-poo anything. This is just kind of discussing, kind of the same way the reason that I did the video I did. I'm not saying what's right or wrong or anybody's thoughts right or wrong or whatever. That's not my place. But you would ask me about it, like what the video was about collectors being at fault or whatever. I
Right.
didn't pay much attention to the videos, and in fact, the video I did um, about like people going at each other, it wasn't specifically just that video. There's been a lot of that going on lately.
Sure.
Um, you know, I we kind of discussed this for a little bit, and we can run through thoughts before we went live or recording. But I think it's more the content space was very easy to do for many of these people that started a YouTube channel when we'll just call it what everyone else does, the hobby
Hmm.
was booming and busting and everything was rainbows and unicorns, and it was easy to tell people what record-breaking card had sold or how much something had went up. Nobody wants to hear, like, nobody's gonna go watch, stock news if the stock market is just continuously flowing down, 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 and seeing how much money that folks are losing. Like, nobody wants to hear that. So it was easy to do content. It was easy to tell people, toss a name, throw a dart at a dartboard that had a bunch of names on it. You hit one of them and throw the name out there and know that your odds were that card was going up, right? That was easy content. And a lot of the people that came in, I think they were doing the content because it was a booming time. The YouTube was booming, the hobby was booming. There was opportunity there. Now it's a little bit more difficult. It's the same way with, we discussed it, uh, buying and selling cards. There's still opportunity there. I mean, somebody commented and was like, thank you for mentioning there's still opportunities there. It's actually more rewarding when you find something and, you can turn it into a profit because you actually work towards that. And that's the truth. Like right now, there's still plenty of opportunity there. It just takes more grind. It takes more work behind it. And it's not an easy button. You can't run the stables, grab that button, slap it, and boom, you got profits, right? It takes a little bit more work, but that's actually pretty rewarding when you succeed with that. So I think it's more right now, a lot of the negative stuff, a lot of the people going at each other is a lack of easy content to make. And people, like I said, the video I did, I uploaded it at like 2:30 in the morning, Friday night, early Saturday morning. It was 2:30 a.m. Saturday morning. And that video has almost 200 views already. And I titled it as the sports card turns, as a play of the soap opera
Soap opera. Oh,
as the
man.
world turns. Like I even took the like title screen of as the world turns, but I took that world and put card.
Is that the
Um,
one with the hourglass?
Now it has like the world in there.
Oh, okay.
I think the hourglass isn't that like Days of Our Lives or something like that? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
My
Let's not
mom
be
used to watch
soap opera.
soap operas and
Yeah.
stuff, but
Let's not be soap opera specialists.
but I mean, is that not what it's like right now?
Yeah, it is. It really is. That's what I was saying to you. It's just it's ridiculous. And I'm not going to mention the two content creators that were talking about it and put it out there. That's why I messaged you and I said, "Do you know who it was?" I said, "I just want to watch this so-called
and
video because nobody
to
wants
all
to
the
say who it was."
listeners, to all the listeners though, let's be clear. I told you the video I knew of, but I also followed up with I didn't pay much attention to it because
Right.
my video wasn't directed toward any one situation. It was like there's a lot of it going on out there. And so
Hmm.
that's why I was like, that's actually why I did the dang video in the first place, just to talk, have the thoughts like, why can't we just all get along, right?
Right.
So I just wanted to make that clear before anyone thinks that we were sitting there talking crap about anybody. He just asked me, and I
No.
said that the video that I knew of, and but that I didn't pay much attention to it. So
Right. Yeah. And obviously I didn't either. I mean, I had no clue and started seeing all these videos popping up on YouTube this morning about it, and I was like, what is going on now? I'm like, why does it have to be this difficult? I mean, it's our hobby. I mean, Jesus, very many crickets. So I go looking and I watch it and I'm like, this guy wants to blame collectors that we're at fault because we've created the monster, and it's not true. I mean, collectors have been here forever. We've never gone anywhere.
is that the same thing as me? Like, do I blame McDonald's or Burger King? I kind of like Burger King, but McDonald's got some good stuff. Do I blame them for gaining weight?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It just really didn't make any sense to me. I mean, he had some good points, but to to hyper focus on it being a collector's issue and the collectors are at fault for this. it's not true. It's just so far fetched. And he had been in the hobby since '86, which really surprised me. So I'd only been in the hobby, a little longer than he has. So, being in '79, but still, I was kind of shocked what he was saying. But
Can I ask a
it's
question?
someone's
Because I
opinion.
honestly, legitimately did not. I turned on the one that I told you about, and I didn't really pay a lot of. I don't even think I watched the full video, honestly.
Mm,
And then I do know that he mentioned somebody else, but I didn't go watch that video. And then I heard somebody else did another video that. Anyway, I didn't pay much attention to him. Can you tell me or reiterate, because I honestly don't know, what are they saying the collectors are at fault of, and how are the collectors at fault? Because I am curious of that.
Well, supposedly we're at fault for creating the space that we're in now because we overpaid for everything and we would always overpay for everything. And if we weren't out there buying it, then there wouldn't be, sellers out there selling it. So it's
So
kind of a
wait,
yes there's kind of a yes and a no to that, but I mean, we're as
can
collectors, we're going to buy it no matter what.
I interrupt there? Just right there.
Sure.
Stop it, hold it right there, and we'll continue. So collectors are at fault because they overpay on things. But on
Hmm.
this podcast, very recently, when we were talking about wax or when we've talked about grading fees, we have said all of these things are in the collector's hands, right?
Sure.
The way to fix it is to not pay the prices, correct?
Right.
We've mentioned that, right?
Right. Pull back.
And I've stated I have not graded a single, well, let me rephrase that. I have graded one card since June. And that was at the National. And it wasn't even graded. I just had it encapsulated as authentic. My Lou Gehrig, my Gaudy Lou Gehrig. That's a card well worth having put in a slab.
Hmm.
Outside of that, I have not had any other cards graded since June because I can very well put cards in one touches or top loaders or what. Most of the stuff I slab anyway is from my collection, and it gets expensive spending $20+ for a holder, over and
Sure.
over. So I paused a little bit to let things settle down. Wax, I have not opened wax probably since before the National. In fact, you can vouch because you were at the house, and it was sad, but the missus, she asked me a few times about getting boxes because we wanted to get some of those silver packs, but the price of wax is high. And although I, stress that buying wax and ripping packs is not just the value involved with what the cards are worth, but there's entertainment value there. You know, I'm not big on going to the movie theaters to watch a movie because I know in 2 weeks after it's out of the theaters, I can go buy the Blu-ray and watch it 20 times if I want to for
Yep.
$12, and have the
Yep.
good popcorn or whatever I want at my house. So
Yep.
I, it's tough. Like I've had to adjust things, but not because I hate the hobby, not because it's anybody else's fault. It's by my own choice because I don't wanna pay the prices that are out there, and I've been open about that. I've even on SGC, being a bulk submitter, I have done videos saying they needed to change the price. Now they have adjusted the price, so, we'll see how that goes from there. I think it's better. I think there's still a little room that might adjust, but we'll have to see how that goes. But at the same time, I held firm, I was vocal on it, and I stated they needed to drop the price. So, who all is the people like what collectors are out there just throwing money away because they believe? If anything, I sold stuff as a
Yeah.
collector because I knew the opportunity was there. Like
Hmm.
I wasn't like buying
So did
at
I.
peak and
Right. So did I. And I'm not a seller. I sold
right.
three cards. I sold three cards out of my collection, and it's because I didn't like LeBron, and I knew I could capitalize on them. And like where I'm sitting today, I'm sitting at my rental properties. I turned those three LeBrons into two cash paid rental properties. That is now making me a good chunk of change every month. So I mean, there are opportunities for everyone, and you just had to be that person to take advantage of that situation. Ones that didn't are the ones that are boo-hooing right now, that were in this to make money. Again, I wasn't in this to make money. Did I make money? Yes. Sold 3 cards. That's it.
Well,
But that
yeah, I
was
mean,
enough. But more than enough. You know what I mean? So that tells you
well,
how
I
hyper
moved.
inflated everything was.
We discussed this. I think I said what all of 2021. So last year, I think. I think I said I sold what 110 total cards on eBay or something like that. But my
Hmm.
average sales was like 200 and some dollars a card. So the market, the opportunity was there, specifically in February. If you had stuff that had surged in price and you didn't sell it, then I give you a lot of props because that market time, that period right there when stuff boomed like that, January and February, like unless it was something that had absolute deep meaning to you, or you were into it very low. Let me rephrase that. If you were into it very low, then you
Which I
shouldn't have
which
sold
I
anything.
was. Which I
Right.
was.
So
I, I
there's two
was
sides
in
to the
for
coin.
nothing.
But I'll give you an example. My Jordan, right?
Hmm.
I didn't sell it at the peak because I wanted the card. But when I seen things take the shift and started going back and how rapidly it was going back down, I was like, all right, let me go ahead and, even though I wanted this, let me just go ahead and take advantage of it now. What did that then turn into? Well, look at the other stuff I used that money for. Do I have the Jordan now? No, but it was an ugly 4, and instead I have things like my Ruth or the Jackie Robinson rookie that I really wanted, or the
Yep.
53 mantle. There's other things there that I replaced it with.
Sure.
Would I have bought if I said, okay, I really, really, really want a Fleer Jordan? Was I gonna buy it at peak? No. In fact, February of 2021, if anybody goes back and well, if you follow my channel over at Bobbles and Ball Cards, go back to February 2021. I actually dipped my toes out of cards completely because I knew things were a mess and I couldn't buy what I was wanting to buy because the prices were so up. I
Right. You
started
went to
buying comic books.
comics, right? I remember
Yeah,
that.
I started buying comic books and video games. I was like, I'm still gonna have fun. I'm still gonna have fun collecting stuff, and so I went and bought a few comic books. I decided to play in that area a little bit while sports cards were going crazy. That's the thing right now. I don't understand why so many people are angry. Like, if you're truly a collector, or even if you are a dealer or investor or whatever, the time to buy and have fun is right now.
Yeah,
Like,
collectors aren't angry though. We're not. For the mo- I I mean, there may be some, but for the most part, we're not angry. I mean, because lean times are profitable times for us because it means our dollar's stretched out more. We get more value for our dollar. So
I,
there is no downtime for us. I mean, we're just as happy now, when it's great and when the market's down. Maybe more so when the market's down, just because we want to be able to buy more
right.
because we're
Well,
not in it for the money.
I posted a video earlier today because I had to. I had to. I sent you a photo. I've been nerding out, just pulling my cards out of my collection, looking at them, revisiting some things I have. It's a perfect time. Sunday, wife and the little one was watching a show they enjoy, and I was like, I came up here and had some background noise on, listening to some stuff, and I was just like pulling out boxes of cards and stuff, going through it, looking at it, and I had pulled a box out that I hadn't opened and looked through in a while, and I started laughing because there was cards in there that I completely forgot I even owned, and I'm like, I started laughing because I've said it, I needed to trim the fat a little, and I'm not trimming the fat on any of this, but it showed like sometimes we need to just sit back and enjoy and appreciate what we have, right?
Right? Isn't it great
Revisit
revisiting it?
revisit the
Yeah.
cool stuff that we already own,
Yep.
appreciate it. Like I'm not gonna lie, and this might make me sound soft or whatever, and I don't really care. But I've showed, the display cases I have and stuff. And I sit here in my chair, and there's been a couple times I've done this. I've sat here in my chair and I've just looked up at those display cases, and I've actually gotten emotional because I'm like, I've told this story. I had to restart my collection twice. It's been a journey, and to look and see what I've been able to accomplish. Sometimes I ask myself, like, how did I do this?
Hmm.
And
But
having
well,
that.
I could tell you exactly how you did it. You just put your passion to it and put all everything else to the side. You didn't care about the noise that everybody else was spewing. So you weren't looking for that PSA 9 SGC 9.5. If the card came in a condition that was good enough for you for your eye appeal, you were buying it and you were happy with it. That's all that mattered.
Many times, some of the cards I have, honestly, it wasn't even about the eye appeal. It was the price. Like my 56 tops, Jackie Robinson. I eventually one day I might buy another one, but it's like a complete beater. Like that card has been heavily loved.
Hmm.
Um, and
But they
I
tell
don't mind
stories,
buying
though,
things like that sometimes, though.
right? They tell a story.
Right. And they save your wallet too, because then you can take the money you saved and go buy another beater, and then guess what? You had two cards that you wanted. So it's
Hmm.
funny, like how you look at it. If you're looking at it for the long term value and you want it to have monetary value, this and that and the other, fine, But to be mad at each other and like go at each other, I don't I don't even know. Like I talked about it. My daughter will be 17 years old next month, less than a month away. She's a junior in high school. She has friends over all the time. She has her meltdowns, her, you know, all the teenage girl stuff, right? The emotions and the hormone changes and all that other stuff, right? And then all of her friends are, same age and everything. And they
Hmm.
have all these social medias and all this stuff. I don't hear teenage girls bickering as much as I have lately, the past 2+ months, of grown men that collect cardboard. And that is sad.
It is. In our hobby, it's bad because there's always somebody looking to point the finger and blame somebody else for, whatever's going on at that current time. And that's where I've always said that it's okay that there's content creators out there. Just take it as entertainment. Don't live by it like it's life and death. It
Well,
just
I've been like actually digging to find other content or like people that I know, that I know personally or have became personal friends with. I'm just sticking to like their stuff. Um,
Mhm.
because I mentioned this in one of the videos I did, and I said, I don't like Maury Povich, I don't like Jerry Springer, I don't like reality TV. I don't listen to Dr. Phil. I don't like that stuff, and I don't want it into the content or the stuff I'm listening to about the hobby that I enjoy. Like I
Mhm.
do this for enjoyment. I don't need Dr. Phil or whoever else, Jerry Springer,
But it's
putting a show
funny,
on about cardboard.
right? But it's funny that you mention them because there are people that live and die by that stuff because they need that in their life, and
But
that's the
it, right,
same. And that's the same thing in the hobby.
yeah,
There's
yeah, and I
people
mean
that just
Maury.
need that controversy.
No, no, nothing against Maury or Jerry or Phil or Dr. Phil. None of them guys. No, no offense to any of them. That's their genre. That's their TV content, reality TV. I mean, look at that stuff, Jersey Shore and all that stuff. It appeals to many people. The Bachelor, all that stuff. It appeals to many people. I have zero interest in it. Like I don't. I could care less
Right.
about that stuff.
Sure.
But it's obviously I know the names of it. Why? Because it's been successful television. It's
Mhm.
been popular. So, there's an audience there and I get it. And I know that's why a lot of this is going on. That's why I said I think the content struggles have started and people are needing the clicks, they're needing the views, and this is the way to get them. Because
Mhm.
before it was throwing a graph up talking about how Luca and Ja and Zion and Mahomes and everybody else was to the moon. That was easy content, right? That's
Sure.
why the market movers and the card ladders and all that became really successful because it helped with content. You could throw it up on the screen and tell everybody that the sports card hobby was freaking going to the moon and you were going to become rich. It was simple to do content. Everybody wanted to see the next 5 cards that were going up. You know, let's face it, when we were kids, we opened the bucket, we looked at the hot and cold list. We wanted to see who was on there, was our favorite player on there.
Yep.
So it makes sense, right?
Yep. Sure
But
does.
today, it's not as easy to do. There's more work involved. There's more
Mm-hmm.
thought. I mean, look at us. We're trying to do 3, and we normally go about an hour every episode or more of useful hobby content, speaking about collecting or just helping people out, telling stories, joking around, having fun, pretending to be Peter or Nat, whatever, right? There's been some creativity and talk amongst folk, you know, me and yourself, to share with listeners out there. Have we grown rapidly? No. But I told you something that was very important to me that I found very important to this channel. There's been 30, 40, 50 people every episode tuning in, listening. And so we're doing something right because we've got about the same number of people every week or every episode coming back and listening to what we have to say. They're commenting sometimes, you know, appreciate your great episode, great topic, that sort of thing. So it's meaning something to people. We're doing something right. The growth will happen. As long as people don't get bored with us, the growth will happen. And as y'all can tell, we can talk. Like, we can talk about this hobby.
A
So,
little.
and I want to reiterate too, this episode, like us talking about this, we're not talking about individual people. We're
No.
talking about the topic in general because of the hobby. And the next question I want to ask you, Refractor, based off of this topic, what do you see happening to change it, to get it to where people start talking about the cardboard again?
You know, it's going to take a lot of people in general, just everyday people like yourself, myself, just basic collectors that love the hobby to start creating content of their own. And I know a lot of people are not going to do it, but you know, because a lot of people lead private lives and they don't want, you know, their faces out there and they don't want that exposure. And I understand, but truly, if they did, a lot more people would start absorbing that content and they wouldn't go to, you know, the fly paper kind of content that's out there, because they would be more interested in Joe Blow, you know, and his collection and what makes him a collector. And you know, at the end of the day, why does he, you know, enjoy this hobby and why is he a part of this hobby, and what are his ideas about the hobby. Where the big misconception in this hobby is that there is one and only rule to the hobby, and there is no rule to this hobby. It's
Oh,
how you
no.
hobby.
No,
It's
no,
how you
no.
hobby. It's how you
And
hobby.
there's no one way, there's no right way, there's no wrong way. There's
No,
only your way.
right. So, and that's what I mean by having, you know, more people just need to get out there and just put a video up. Just talk about your collection, talk about what you like, and just throw it up out there. I, I'm not saying you're going to grow to, you know, hundreds of subscribers or thousands or tens of thousands, but I guarantee you, each one that does subscribe to you is going to be a meaningful subscriber, because they're going
Right.
to bond. They're going to bond with you, because they're going to be like, hey, you know what? Joe Blow talks about what I would really like to talk about, and what I would really like to do in the hobby, and maybe, you know, I can do this too someday. And that's how connections are made between, you know, collectors, and we're able to, you know, network with each other, and that type of stuff. This whole thing of following 4 or 5 guys and there being the end all of the hobby is, it's ridiculous. I mean, it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, like, I'm gonna just go ahead and that's the term they've been coined, and I guess they coined themselves this too. But another thing the influencers don't realize, just showing charts and graphs and telling people what cards are going up, that's not the only way to help people in the community. Like, start diving in and maybe using the data tools or something to tell people, like, give them information about a set that you think, you know, could be interesting to them, or inserts, or start running down the list of different sets and like do showcasing of them, or whatever, give information about it. There was something I thought about today, and this is going to make us both really probably sad because I never realized it, right? But I've mentioned I got into the hobby around 86, 87. And I was looking back and I was like, what do folks like my age, what does a lot of people my age actually enjoy that we go after and collect now, right? And I would say a large margin of it would be vintage, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, because we're not ultra modern collectors. We
Well,
just
I'm
don't
just
like
talking
the
about in
over.
general the age range of people that are, say, 35 to 55. You
Yeah,
would you would
yeah,
probably say that many of them are interested in vintage, right?
sure.
Okay. So in 86, when I got in, because I was thinking, I was like, why is that? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, well, in 86, 87, when I got in, 30 years prior would have been 1956 tops.
Right.
And I've talked about how, like, in the Beckett magazines and everything, it would show the old cards and you could see the prices, right?
Hmm.
If we detract the value or not, it was always interesting to see them, right? I mean, the Wagner was the grail when we were kids because, oh my God, it's the unattainable, right? So
Hmm.
when you're a child, you have dreams. I was thinking about that today, and let's say a kid that was 6 years old today was born in 2016, and they started into the hobby today in 2022. So I started in 86, and 30 years prior would have been 56. And a kid today in 2022 to go 30 years back like we did as kids, they would be interested in cards from 1992. Think about that and let that sink in a minute.
Yeah, that's
Now,
terrible.
do
Pure
you
junk wax.
think exactly, that was what I was getting to. Do you think it's not as cool to them, like a 6-year-old, 7-year-old today that's, starting out and they look back at the cards from 30 years ago? And let's face it, like, if a father collected when he was a kid and he has all of his cards from back then and he went to hand them down, he's gonna be giving them to his boy, and it's likely gonna be majority junk wax. Is
Yeah.
that part of the problem that we're having right now? Maybe even with getting kids interested, because it's not as unobtainable as those vintage cards were to us when we looked back on them and they were 30 years previous?
Well, you got to understand. There's too many more. There's a lot more choices for kids to do everything and anything under the sun. I mean, kids can do anything now compared to what we did. We were thrown out of the house at 8 o'clock in the morning and told to come back when the street lights came on. And if we had enough change in our pocket, we hit up the ice cream man. And so it was either how many times are you going to go play baseball, with your buddies and imitate, your version of the Sandlot, which of course the Sandlot wasn't around at that time, but you had your own version of the
Right.
Sandlot action going on. But nowadays, I mean, kids have too many other options. So, I truly feel there's going to be less kids in the hobby,
I do
as
too.
going forward. It's just the way it's going to be. It's not that it's going to be a dying breed, because as long as there's sports, there's still going to be the hobby. They'll still put it out there in some sort of fashion. They always have. But again, there's too many other choices for kids to make to not, you know, tail away from sports cards, unfortunately.
But do you think that's part of the reason why now the value emphasis is so heavy on cards? Because now that we like got, someone like myself went, growing up, we grew up through prime junk wax. Many folks talked about how they left the hobby or they quit and then they just came back in because of the boom, right? The nostalgia brought them back, but then they also seen the numbers and the hobby was hot and the values were there. Is that part of the problem? Is like that's the main attraction to it?
Well,
Or
money was the main attraction to all the people that were coming into the hobby, because they were bored and they found another way to make a quick buck. Otherwise people weren't making money. People were out of work. They were sitting
so
at
will
home.
it do you think it will sustain if it doesn't get back to that 2020 2021 period, or will people move on?
No, people have already moved on. I mean, we already see it. I mean, I went and picked up a collection today. I had two other opportunities to look at two other collections, but I was too busy. Between me having to go over to the rental properties today, and then I went and met a guy and I looked at his collection, bought his whole collection, and I said, "Why are you getting out?" And he goes, "Well, I got into it before the whole pandemic started, and then times are tough right now, and I really don't care about them as much as I thought I would. It's just not my thing anymore." And it was sad to see, because he had stuff all the way from around the 60s, mid 60s, and the mid 60s stuff was his dad's. And he was like,
Right.
"Yeah, that was all my dad's stuff." And I collected a little bit, and then I got back into it again. And he goes, "I'm just not going to do anything with it. I shouldn't have done it." His exact words, "It was a mistake. I shouldn't have put my money there." And again, everybody's leading with money being the main aspect of the hobby. He says, "I
Right,
thought I
right.
can make enough money to keep me going and then have a good time, reliving my childhood."
And
So,
I truly think, like, and that's what the consensus was on most of the comments of, the reason. And I made sure to reply to a guy. I know what the the sentiment is right now in the hobby, and it is hyper focused around money. That's why I ask you that,
mhm.
because I think I think right now we're at the period like it was somewhat before the boom. I think
Yep.
the hobby is still like it's
You're
still normal. It was like this before. We just got into a weird, wacky period. It's coming back, but now the content is what's flowing in different directions. Instead of going up, up, up to the moon, it's doom and gloom and who's doing what and whose fault is it and this, that, and the other. And it's just a bunch of finger pointing. The truth is, it should have never gotten to where it was to begin with. Whose fault
correct.
it was, I don't think you can speculate on whose fault it was. You can point fingers and accuse people if you want to, but at the end of the day, I think it's like anything else, and if something becomes extra popular in a hurry, and it's all supply and demand based, and the supply wasn't there to meet the influx of demand. You might have had some shenanigans going on. You might have had some market manipulation, some pricing. You had some free money floating around. You had people bored. You had sports not even being played, so this was a connection to the sports. There was a lot of different spices and seasoning thrown into the stew, and it caused, this pot roast that nobody expected, right?
Yep.
But now things have settled down. There's some leftovers, it marinated a bit, and we're back to where it was before. And that's
Right.
perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It's accepting that it's fine and enjoying it from start to finish. And, you know, I totally agree with you. I don't think we're going to have nowhere near as many youth involved in cards as we did when we were kids. I just don't think it's possible.
Hmm.
Um, I think I agree with you. I have two kids. Again, I mentioned, my daughter, but I have two kids, and I see you're right. Like they would much rather pop on a video game or stream. It's funny. I mean, they'll sit and watch other people play video games. You know,
Yep.
it's kind of like us as card nerds. We enjoy cards and we watch other people doing card content. They are video game nerds and they'll watch other people play video games,
Yep.
So I can't sit
Yeah.
here and knock it.
Yeah.
But we see the growth of TCG. We can witness that by grading numbers. We see those channels and just how many people watch the Pokemon channels and stuff. Why? Well, because it is more interesting to that younger crowd, that audience. Um, there's like everything is electronic now, you know. When we were growing up, you mentioned it, we had a Beckett magazine. That was our Bible, like for our sports card Bible. That was
Sure.
what we looked at. That was our entertainment. Today we have a phone that we can listen to music, play games, watch YouTube, watch live sports, live TV if you really want to, right from the palm of your hand. We didn't have that. We had a magazine that we had to wait
Yep.
to come out a new one once a month. You know, you had to read that bad boy slow because the prices weren't changing minute by minute in that, you know,
Nope.
in that magazine. You got to wait till next month, and sometimes
Yeah.
it normally didn't change. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. You'd see those up arrows and then think next month, oh yes, it's going
yeah,
up to the moon. The next month you saw
yeah,
no arrows and you said, damn, what
yeah.
happened?
It wasn't this live comping cards, you know.
Right.
So
My
times have
car.
changed, and the youth, you know, they're how do I put it? Um, the reason video games come out with new updates and new copies every single year or whatever, the reason there's a new iPhone, it seems like every 3 to 6 months, is because they're constantly wanting new, right? They're not
Yeah.
going to focus on one thing. So, um, you know, I agree. I think we need to enjoy it while we can. I don't think it's going to disappear. I think cards will
No.
always stay there. But
As long as
remember,
there's sports, there's always going to be cards.
right. But the interest levels will decline. And
Sure. You know
that's
what?
where I think,
You you know what will happen though, Bubbles, is that we might get back to the old way that card shows were, that everything was 50% off of actually market value. If something was $100 card in the Beckett magazine, we could buy it anywhere and anywhere at that show for $50 and under.
right. And, you know, I was going to speak on it a little bit tonight. I'm probably going to do a video on it sometime this week over on my channel. We have the Chantilly show coming up this weekend.
Hmm.
Very excited for it. I know Scott and Natsman are supposed to be coming up. James always comes down to visit. I want to discuss like my feelings going into it. I'm excited as hell. I always love the Chantilly show. Um, but I want to talk about like my thought process, what I might be looking for, that sort of thing, how I plan to attack it. Now, doesn't mean I'm ever going to hold true to my plan of attack, but I do have some things in mind. I have been brainstorming about how I want to go about it, and it's actually not much different than I did the last time the Chantilly show was there, or the National, which you were there and seeing some of my buys from there.
Hmm.
Um, I'm kind of taking things a little bit different than I did. Um, you know, kind of appreciating the stuff I've accumulated, and yeah, just I'm having a blast right now. Honestly, right now is fun. Like if you don't have money to go out and buy anything, for all the listeners out there, if you don't have money to go buy anything and you truly love this hobby and you have cards and everything, pull a box out, pull a box of your cards out, and just look through them. Just look through them. It doesn't cost you anything. Sit there and just look through them. You know, take in, you know, if it's pickups you've made over the past few years or whatever, go through and just look at them. Ask yourself, when did I get this one? What did I buy this one for? Do I still like this player? Just look at them though, because I can assure you, sitting down and just taking a few minutes and looking at them and appreciating what you got, it's gonna put a smile on your face. It's a lot of fun. Unless you bought into Bowl. I mean, that might make you cry. I don't know. Um, just a warning to Bowl collectors. No hate, just a warning. So, you got anything else you want to add?
No, I, I don't want to, I don't want to hurt people's feelings, but just stop the nonsense. I mean, it's ridiculous. Enjoy the hobby for what it's for, and just have a good time with it. Even if you can't afford to buy stuff, trade. Find somebody that you can trade with. Go to the blowout forums, and find people on there. There's so many people on the blowout forums that will trade with you, and they're not big people looking for big value cards. They're looking for smaller stuff, and they're looking for inserts and different parallel stuff. Or you can even put your own buys out there.
That's another thing. I might try to get the guy on. I'll talk about that later. But I have a
Yeah, I know what
website
you're
I
going.
might do a video about because I actually uploaded more to it today. And honestly, I didn't even price stuff out. I just threw it up at $0.25 a piece. Hopefully, somebody can find some stuff for players or insert parallels, whatever that they're building sets for, and enjoy it. I'm not too worried about being comping stuff out. That takes too much time. So I threw a
Right.
bunch of
I
stuff up today at $0.25 a piece, and hopefully folks can make use of it. But anyway,
I find more enjoyment in buying the lower end stuff than I do the higher end stuff. That's
right,
why I get such a kick out of going and buying tens and thousands of refractors at one time, because one, I'm going to have entertainment value there playing with all of it. Two, it's going to help me when I'm starting to build all these sets. I'm always going to be able to find stars. It's not like I'm
right.
not going to be able to find the stars. But tell me where I'm going to find, an exclusive guy that was thrown into. He's a common, really, but he's, a gold refractor. And then you're like, shoot, where the hell is this damn card? I can't find it. Nobody has it. They have it, but it's
I'm
out of sight, out of
actually,
mind.
I
People
know
don't care
exactly
about
what
it.
you're talking about because it seems like people don't want to list it because it's not worth their time, because it's not
Right.
worth, X amount of dollars. And I'm kind
Yep.
of in that situation right now. I was working on the rainbow, trying to get every parallel of the 2020 Nationals World Series, the World Series highlights cards, and I was trying to get all of the parallels the Topps made of them. And there's some I just can't find because it's like Rendon or Strasburg, and they're not worth very much. So
Mhm.
like it's tough to find some of the ones I need, but I've been looking for
Right.
them. But anyway, I think it's been a good episode. Hope everybody out there, like, again, seriously, guys, if you're listening to us because you're a collector, just take a moment and look and appreciate your cards. If you're in it as a flipper, just believe me, believe him. There's opportunities out there. If you're a flipper, do like he says. Go and put an ad out. Hunt Facebook Marketplace or something. Look for buying like a collection, right? And then piece it out. You're going to be able to have opportunity to flip it. If you're a
Yeah.
dealer, you already know the deal. It's better to buy in bulk and then sell it off. So there's still plenty of fun to have for everybody out there. There's opportunity, money to be made, collections to be built, and fun to be had. So, but that's all I have. I don't. If you have anything
Nope.
else,
I'm good, sir.
otherwise, I hope you all have a beautiful Monday. And as always, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.